Hi, this is National Master Rick Bustamante with another chess video on my channel. In this video, we're going to talk about energizing your pieces, giving your pieces more power than your opponent's pieces, strengthening your pieces, how to weaken your opponent's pieces. So we're going to begin with this diagram. As you can see, the struggle has boiled down to a black queen against a white knight. Now, if you have to pick a side here, which one would you pick? Would you want the white pieces or the black pieces? Well, I'm confident that you would pick the black pieces. And why? Well, you'd say the queen is more powerful than the knight. But then I would ask you, why is the queen more powerful than the knight? What makes it stronger than the knight? You'd think. And you'd say, the queen has more mobility. And I'd say that's right. Here in the center of the board, the queen can move to 27 different squares. Now this knight is on the edge of the board. Where it is now, it can only move to 3 different squares. If it were in the center of the board, it could only move to 8 squares compared to the queen's 27. So if you were to continue this game, well, you'd probably play queen to f2, which leaves white with some very bad choices. The king cannot move. The knight can only move to one of the 3 squares, and each one of them loses the knight. So it might be a good time to resign, and one wonders why white hasn't done that already. But the main lesson of this position is that the queen is stronger than the knight because it has more mobility. And the thing that I'm going to teach you is that mobility is the essence of chess. We're going to examine this position in order to explore how a piece's position on the board can affect its mobility and hence its power. As you can see, this struggle has boiled down to a king, knight, and bishop on each side. Black's pieces are extremely well positioned in the center of the board, whereas white's, are poorly positioned. So you see that the black knight can move to 8 different squares, whereas the white knight can only move to 2. Comparing the bishops, white's bishop can move to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 squares, whereas the black bishop can move to 13. Being in the center of the board makes a piece more powerful. And all things being equal, taking into stock the tactical situation, you want to position your pieces in the center of the board. We're going to continue our discussion of chess mobility with a look at the individual characteristics of some of the pieces. Here we're looking at 2 rooks, a black one and a white one. The black rook is in the middle of the board and the white rook is on the edge. You may be surprised to learn that the black rook and the white rook have the same mobility. That is a characteristic of the rook, and so you often see rooks operating from the back rank early in the game, especially when the board is crowded with pieces, and then later on, as the board empties out a bit, you'll often see the rook advancing perhaps to the 7th rank or wherever they can attack something. So let's have another look at the knight. Really just to note that the knight has full mobility anywhere within the 16 square region surrounding the center, here bordered in yellow. Let's conclude our discussion of piece mobility with a look at the game Steinitz versus Lasker. This game was played in 1899 between two players who both were world champions in their time. White opens with e4. This move controls the center, controls d5, and occupies e4. You'll see these players using pawns to control the center in the early part of the game. Black, in response to black's e5, white plays a knight c3, protecting e4 and controlling d5. White moves his knight toward the center, controlling the center. In response, black moves his knight toward the center, controlling the center. This move attacks e4 and defends e5. White plays f4. This move is intended to exchange the white e-pawn, or the white f-pawn, for the black e-pawn, and so gain a pawn majority in the center. Black responds aggressively with the idea that if f takes e, black will play knight takes e4, and after knight takes e4, pawn takes, black stands well. He has this annoying pawn in the center that white will have to deal with, and white will also have to be wary of checks on this diagonal. So white plays a subtlety with d3 with the idea that if d takes e, white will respond not with d takes e or knight takes e4, but with f takes e5. Now, in case it's not clear, if white plays here, this is inconvenient for him. So if king takes, there's no more castling, and black also has inconvenient moves like knight g4, ready to fork here, and black would have an initiative here. So white's move here would be f takes e, and after knight to g4, knight takes e4 would be white's response, gaining this majority in the center. This d3 pawn will advance to d4, acquiring more space. So black's response is knight c6, again moving toward the center, controlling the center, defending the e5 square, and attacking the d4 square. And after white's f takes e, black cannot respond with knight takes e4 because that square is defended by a pawn. Black has to play this. And then after d4, knight g6, just getting the knight out of the way. White plays e takes d, gaining the pawn majority in the center. However, here this knight is a bit awkward. White doesn't want to allow knight takes c3, doubling his pawns. He doesn't want to play the passive bishop d2 or knight g to e2, that is this move, or this move. And so his idea after knight takes d5 is just to exchange the knight. This has the bad side effect of activating the black queen, that moves proudly into the center where it stands very well. White plays knight f3, moving his knight toward the center, controlling e5, defending d4. Black moves his bishop to g4. This is not a center square, but it's attacking the knight, which is controlling the center, so it is a central move, if you will, center-oriented move. White develops his bishop, unpinning the knight. Black castles queenside, putting pressure here and thinking about bishop takes f3, and after bishop takes f3 for white, the d-pawn would be hanging. So white defends the d-pawn again. Black moves his bishop into the center, controlling the center. White castles. Black moves his rook toward the center, controlling the center. White plays h3, and after bishop d7, let's assess the situation. Black has completed his development, and all his pieces are centrally oriented and control squares in the center or the larger center. This bishop also eyes the h3 pawn, which plays heavily in the future of the game. White is behind in development, and you have to give black a small advantage here. The engine, if you look over here to the right, gives black a half a pawn advantage. So we're going to leave the game here. I hope this game illustrates how strong players fight for the center and are keen to activate their pieces. There are many skills to master in order to become proficient at chess. But going forward, do take Paul Morphy's advice. Take care of your pieces, and they will take care of you. As always, if you enjoy this content and find it valuable, please click like and subscribe.